Did you catch the hidden clue in the Dexter Resurrection Season 1 finale? Because if you blinked, you might have missed the setup for a twist that could change everything we thought we knew about this show. What if Prater's most mysterious killer didn't die at all, but staged the perfect survival? And what if Season 1 wasn't about Prater's genius, but about how he's been played like a pawn this entire time? Let's start with the first big clue. Throughout Season 1, Prater constantly referenced the one who got away. At first, it felt like a simple obsession, the classic regret every hunter has. But this line kept popping up at the most important moments. In Episode 4, he mutters it to himself after a near miss, like he's remembering something specific. Then in Episode 7, he tells his partner, "It's not about the ones I caught, it's about the one I didn't." Dialogue doesn't get repeated by accident in a show like this. That means it's pointing directly to someone real, someone who slipped through the cracks. Now, jump to the finale. After the fight, the camera lingered on a blood pattern on the wall that didn't match the scene. It wasn't aligned with the strikes, the flow, or the body position. Dexter shows have always been meticulous about blood, so if something doesn't add up, it's intentional. That smear wasn't a random mistake, it was a breadcrumb. A sign that this killer staged the crime scene to look like a death when it wasn't. And here's where the theory gets wild. What if the killer didn't just survive, but deliberately staged their own death to manipulate Prater? Think about it. If you know someone is obsessed with catching the one that got away, the ultimate move is to let them think they won. Let them believe the hunt is over. While Prater celebrates victory, the killer rewrites the rules of the game from the shadows. It's the perfect long con. That changes everything about Prater's character. We saw him as the mastermind, the hunter, the guy pulling all the strings. But if the killer actually survived, then maybe Season 1 wasn't about his strength at all. Maybe it was about his weakness, his obsession with control, his drive for perfection, his desperate need to prove himself. All of it could have been used against him. The killer may have been pushing his buttons, manipulating him emotionally, and setting him up to make mistakes. If that's true, then Prater isn't the genius. He's the prey. And this flips the entire narrative on its head. Because if the killer really survived, they didn't just outsmart Prater, they turned him into the story's victim. His so-called victory wasn't a triumph, it was bait. A trap. And we, the audience, got caught in it right alongside him. Now imagine what that means for Season 2. Every person tied to Prater could be in danger. His family, his allies, even his rivals. Because the killer wouldn't just return quietly. They'd come back with a plan. A plan crafted from the inside knowledge of Prater's flaws. This isn't a comeback, it's a war. And here's the biggest twist. It mirrors Dexter's own legacy. Dexter survived by staging deaths, by controlling narratives, by making hunters underestimate him. If this killer is doing the same thing, then Resurrection isn't just telling a new story. It's showing us the evolution of Dexter's darkness. This killer could be the spiritual heir to everything Dexter represented. Survival, deception, and control. That raises one chilling possibility. What if Season 1 was designed to trick us? What if we were meant to overestimate Prater, to believe he was the predator, when really he was always the prey? If that's the case, then Season 2 won't just be a continuation. It'll be a revelation that the real mastermind of this story was never in Prater's hands at all. So the real question is this. If the killer staged their death, then who's really in control of Dexter Resurrection? Because if Prater isn't the mastermind, then we're about to meet a villain who could rival Dexter himself. In Dexter Resurrection Episode 10, there's a blink and you miss it moment that changes everything. Lady Vengeance's file is still marked as active. On the surface, it looks like a background prop, a simple case folder left on screen for texture. But in a show this meticulous, no file is shown without meaning. If her case is still active, then Lady Vengeance might not only be alive, but preparing to return in a way that could upend the entire balance of Season 2. Let's start with what we know. Lady Vengeance was never just another killer. She was a mirror, a twisted reflection of justice, using violence to balance scales no one else would touch. That kind of symbolism isn't the type of character you just discard. If she was truly finished, her file would have been archived, closed, sealed away in the cold storage of forgotten cases. But it wasn't. It was left active. That's intentional. Here's the first big question. Who kept the file active? the system doesn't do that automatically. It means someone, somewhere, still considers her a threat or an unfinished story. That could be Prater himself, unable to let go of an enemy who tested him in ways no one else could. Or it could be someone higher up in the Bureau who knows more about Lady Vengeance than we've been shown. Either way, an active file means someone is preparing for her return. Now, here's where it gets even darker. If Lady Vengeance's file is still live, it suggests she may have never been properly caught. Think back to episode 8, where the details of her supposed takedown were given in fragments. Almost too neat. We never saw a body, never saw the clear evidence that she was eliminated. Instead, we were told the story through reports and paperwork. And in Dexter's universe, if you don't see the body, you should always doubt the death. But why would the writers tease her survival now, at the end of Season 1? Because it sets up the ultimate foil for Season 2. While Prater is unraveling, haunted by his own obsession, Lady Vengeance represents the other side of his darkness, the version of him that kills not for compulsion, but for control. If she's alive, she knows his weaknesses. She knows how far he'll bend before he breaks. And her very existence exposes him as incomplete, unfinished. This flips Prater's arc completely. Instead of being the man who closes every case, who ties every loose end, he's now defined by the one enemy he couldn't stop. That makes him vulnerable. It rewrites his confidence as arrogance, his victories as illusions. And it means Season 2 won't just be about survival. It'll be about exposure, because Lady Vengeance could return not only to challenge Prater, but to dismantle his entire legend. Now think about the symbolism of the name Lady Vengeance. She was never just killing. She was delivering her brand of justice. If her file is active, then maybe her mission isn't finished. Maybe she isn't returning for Prater at all. Maybe she's returning for everyone around him. The Bureau, the system, the allies who turned a blind eye. Imagine Season 2, where Lady Vengeance becomes the hunter, and the very institution Prater relies on becomes her prey. And here's the wildest angle. What if Lady Vengeance has been in control this entire time? The file being marked active could be her doing, not the Bureau's. A planted message, left to be found, reminding everyone that she was never gone. If that's the case, then Season 1 didn't close her story. It was just her disappearing act. And now, she's ready to step back into the light, stronger, sharper, and far more dangerous than before. So the next time you think of Prater as the one pulling the strings, remember this: Lady Vengeance's file is still active. And in Dexter's world, that means the past doesn't stay buried. It waits, it watches. And it always comes back to collect.